short video covers almost the entirety of the short-lived railway company of the Lancaster Preston Junction Railway, which built the section of the future West Coast Main Line from Preston to Lancaster. It started Preston in 1967 with Blackbird 45352 and the Blackpool Express out of the station, having taken from a diesel which presumably hauled the train from London east of the station. This train is followed by Britannia 7013 Oliver Cromwell heading for Windermere on the special Lancaster derailed with Liverpool on the 20th of April 1968. The last 4 months of steam. The original LNPJR terminus was at Dock Street, and trains heading south from there took a short path west to the main North Union station. It was around here where tracks diverged west where the original Preston Railway engine shed and modern day platforms from Port and south again to access Manchester and Liverpool. Much of the original infrastructure of Dock Street Railway Station is completely gone, having been lifted all the way back in 1844. Only a year after opening, the services were concentrated on the North Union Railway's main terminus, still here today, of course. These views are at the junction for the Blackpool and Fleet. It's with Black 5 on the express heading to Lancaster, passing 80862 on the mail train. Preston still has importance as being the approximate halfway point on this route from London East to West, as well as being a junction for East and Northwest Lancashire. As soon as the express disappears, the camera pans round to the 80-foot length of the line. Common sight almost anywhere on the former Element network. And anyways, this Stanley 1935 design was built during the Second World War, and nothing pre-war has been preserved, plus many going to countries in the Middle East. The Black 5, which had just passed, was also designed by William Stanley, considered his most successful line ever. Following these serves another of these black lines, the 4x412 and the freight also for the Lancaster, under the rated British carriers hit. A little north of Preston was the single-platformed Oxhay station, opened in 1869 and closed back in 1925. And here in 1966, Britannia was seen to be able to tornado operations of the Naval Express from Preston, passing from the backside of the signal box to close in 1969. The Church of St Walburge made an impressive backdrop, with the third tallest spire in the UK at 94 metres tall, and in front of this backdrop comes two standing 80ths in the train of transport complex levels of contract train steam. View inside the signal box with the signalman busy precedes Britannia 70035 Radcliffe Kipling on another common traffic on its route, the morning Carlisle to Manchester Parsons train, which took the West Coast Main Line as south as Wigan before being redirected southeast to Manchester, Victoria. Of the original halt are hardly visible in this December 1967 scene. Blackbird 45375 from Liverpool's Eggshell Shed heads express freight out of Preston, leaping steam gladly, as many did in these final rundown months, slogging under the Eldon and Mainland Street overbridges. The station was named after another nearby street. It was open for animal traffic to the local farms. 3.5 miles north takes us to Barton and Broughton Station, only just intact, having closed back in 1939, and this view in 1966 shows rails grove sheds of freight terminate, heading an up-tube train. There were once goods loops here, and can be seen as another 1966 scene shows Jubilee 45593 Collapore overtaking a black Worvold freight on a down express. In 1967, a preserved GWR visitor climbed castle heading routed to Carlisle in the scene heading north, passing around flatbeds in the station signal box, then going under the overbridge carrying the Newsham Hall line B5269 road. The station's name was originally just Broughton, but renamed in 1861 and remained open to goods traffic until 1965. Another 1967 shot shows Black 544877 of Speak Junction shed on a southbound freight for Liverpool, clanking slowly past, taking Porterfield parallel west of the station. This is one of the Black 5s built in 1945 after the Second World War, but before nationalisation. This individual locomotive in fact made it to the last month of steam in August 1968. The next station north of Barton and Broughton Station is Brock, another May 1939 fatality in closure. His visit to signal box preceded one of the last surviving War MT flying big mobiles made in 1968. These locomotives are looking due to their unusually high running plates. One is preserved. The morning ICI train from Northwich in Cheshire runs north to presumably Cork-Call the Cumbrian coast behind an 80. The water troughs on this ex-LMP-JR section are half a mile north, the 9th seat between Euston and Carlisle. In 1965, Battalion 700-2 Tornado heads it down front over the troughs before rebuilt Patriot 4553 Sir Frederick Harrison serves as freight transition in the opposite direction. The road bridge here had two badge insignia representing the nearby Brockholes Nature Reserve. ADF 48108 also heads north with yet another freight. The most major station between Preston and Lancaster is Garstang and Catterall, and Black 544713 departs from the yards here southbound with the local pickup freight Tender Forest and Wild National District. Note on the far right the M6 motorway is traffic, which wasn't completely built in 1967 at this time, or as busy as it is today. 4713 had been doing life of just 20 years. Built in 1948, surviving until August 1968, being scrapped sometime in March 1969. The yards are quite desolate in appearance as we edge closer to the station, as Britannia's 7031 Byron hurries north on a parcels train. The station was once the junction for the Garstang and Nottingham Railway, which closed altogether in 1965. The station itself closed in 1969, and locals still complain about the absence of it today thanks to Dr. Richard Beecham's cuts and axes in such stations. The local creamery and pickup freights were also one of the important traffics which kept the station going. Standard Class 573045 at Patricroft heads north light engine with pylons and wagons in the background, and as the camera pans to the right, the Lancaster Canal can be seen west of the station, still in use today. Most Standard 5s at this time were allocated to Patricroft anyways. In 1966, Black 544681, built as late as 1950 by BR, was only 16 years old at this time and heads north with even more vigorous Linux freight. Tracks the cameraman is standing on lead to the said Nottingham branch, having closed to passengers back in 1930. And even further north of the spot, still paralleling with the former junction, the M6 motorway can be seen again in the far right background as W4889 of Carnforth has plenty of steam to spare as he rushes southward with a short express freight, presumably imbued from a brake fan in the silence. There are proposals to reopen the route completely to Garstang, along with new stations and more, and has received many votes throughout the community of the Wyre. North of the station, with two old footbridges crossing the railway over 200 metres apart of each other, where there were a few sidings, Black 5 heads in the down direction with an engineer's train, with the crane bearing the new British Rail marking and an old wooden body coach in departmental use. 6 miles north again, we're now to Bay Horse, with Black 545390 piloting a sister member on an up oil tank train from Nisha. The station served the old inn in the background, closing in 1960. A better view of the inn can be seen on the far left as we get another view of the Cluncastle excursion, skipping the station of Scorton sadly. The locomotive is about to pass under one of the old and impressively designed footbridges over the line in Leehands Lane. 2.5 miles north brings us to Obeck Loops via Gowgate, installed in circa 1926. On the 16th of October 1967, Black 544878, a Carlisle stalwart, clanks past these loops on light freight. Note the traffic on the original A6 Preston to Lancaster Road in the background, they are precursor to the M6 motorway, but still in use today. Also passing these loops in the same direction in the previous month is Britannia number 70012 John of Gaunt, neglected in appearance, and whistling by on a fetid freight. Passing the site of Lancaster University and viewed from the opposite side of the line is a very grimy 90 struggling and hurrying southbound with chemical tanks, being separated by two wagons on this mixed freight, a major industry in the 1960s. South ground gradient out of the Thames up to 198, but eased off to 110 at 3 miles. Black 545134 is on the steepest section as she passes Lancaster Junction with yet more freight, which led to the original Penn Street terminus of this railway, but was replaced with the Lancaster and Carlisle's Castle Station on years after opening in 1849. But the former station remained open to freight until 1967. 44827 follows 45134 as we wrap us this look at the original line from Preston to Lancaster. Unfortunately, no footage at Penny Station either, which was known as Bleed Station, and occasionally saw visiting trains and mountains. Through line to Carlisle bore sharply westwards. Point.